Yeah, I want to put out some information on some technology that I think is very good. I don't sell this stuff, and I'm not actually trying to save the planet with it or nothing. But I actually want to alert people to this technology that can probably just use it for themselves to their own benefit. Now, first off, I want to point out just a picture of Royal Rife. Royal Rife was the guy that developed the Rife machine that was used back in the 30s, that was evaluated by the best, most prestigious medical doctors in the country, and he cured 16 out of 16 terminal cancer patients with this Rife machine. Now, like I told you, I'm not trying to save the planet here or save the world. I just really want to inform the people that matter the most versus, try to freaking change the world, because the world will change on itself by the people that just pick up the tools to do it. That's really what it comes down to. Now, one thing I want to really emphasize right from the get-go, right here. You know what Royal Rife really was? A machinist. He was not a doctor. He was a machinist. As a matter of fact, he was a chauffeur working for this rich guy that set him up. This rich guy set him up with some money in a shop where Royal Rife can pursue something he had an idea on and a passion on. Actually, Royal Rife was what you would almost consider not really fitting in with the professional crowd. He was an avid hunter, too. Big game hunter, Royal Rife. This is a picture. He had guns and, used to go out there big game hunting and all that type. He was a machinist. He got the idea. Well, you can see this microscope. This is his picture of the microscope. Very complicated. What it did was it actually split a particle of light into the different bands of light. So, therefore, he was able to see objects smaller than a particle of light, which was thought to be impossible. They did not duplicate this machine or something along its lines till I think about 5 years ago. All the microscopes that developed that were small, that could see objects smaller than a particle of light, are like they use their electron microscopes. They actually kill the microbe by looking at it. They can't see it in a live form. So Royal Rife was able to see the microbes in live form. Now he would notice that microbes would show up in different bands in the color spectrum, because he's using only part of the particle of light. And he also realized that that color spectrum had its frequency. So what he got the idea from that was that, like for instance, if a virus showed up or a cancer virus showed up, which he figured to be a cancer virus, showed up in a violet-colored spectrum of light, he realized that frequency of the violet spectrum color light was a certain amount. Then he would try applying it to the virus, and he would use sweep around that frequency. And he found, like looking under the microscope, he was able to destroy the virus, the cancer virus. So he started doing experiments with, this is his assistant, John Crane, but he started doing experiments with mice, right? And he was working with John Crane. John Crane was also a machinist. That's why a lot of these medical people kind of look at these guys and they weren't medically qualified. Yeah, they weren't medically qualified. They were machinists. But they did the job, and I don't really care about saving the planet. I'm just putting this out for people who want to pick up the ball and run with it for themselves. Period. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not going to try to argue with anybody that's got a medical degree or is a scientist or whatever. I don't care. Do whatever you want, fine. I'm just telling the story, the background story behind this. Well, Royal Rife and John Crane, they conducted all these experiments on mice, and they injected them with cancer deliberately, and they developed these big cancerous tumors. They operated on the mice. They took the tumors out, and they had remaining malignant cancer. Then they used a beam ray device with the certain frequencies, and they cured them of all traces of cancer. That's when they tried the human trials, and the human trials were evaluated by the most prestigious doctors under the watch of the most prestigious doctors in the country at the time, back in the 30s. Actually, here's John Francis Crane's trade certificate from the state of California. Machinist. Okay? If you can see that, right there. right there, smack in the middle. Okay, just like Royal Rife. These guys weren't doctors, machinists. You know, I guess it takes somebody to brains to develop something. I don't know. I don't want to knock doctors, but you know, well, doctors were trying to use this technology too. Crane developed the pad type machines for not using the beam ray contact devices. He came up with frequencies based upon the original frequencies, and the FDA rated them, and they shut them all down, and all the doctors and all this other crap, you know. Now, enter another person. This was also in the 20s and the 30s. This is Georges Lakhovsky. He was a Russian engineer. He actually immigrated to Paris, France. Now, he was in contact with Nicola Tesla. And Nicola Tesla, and this is his device actually that Georges Lakhovsky developed, it uses 3 Tesla coils in this big white box that he's sitting that's sitting behind him, and a receiving unit and a sending unit. And it uses a type of frequencies. Nobody's really 110% sure how this works. I put a long video on it. There's 3 main possibilities why this works. But it's different from the Rife device, because if your person is 100% healthy, you know, they have no disease that anybody could see, it actually seems to bring up the energies inside people somehow to reverse age them. They were actually in the 40s, in the early 40s, when Rife was killed actually by a hit-and-run limousine in New York. I think the guy was murdered. I mean, not Rife. I mean Lakhovsky, George Lakhovsky. He was hit and run by a limousine in New York, 1942. I think he was flat out deliberately murdered because they took the device that was the big miracle cure that was working so great, that was evaluated in hospitals in France, Italy, and also they had one in New York that was starting to evaluate it in the early 40s. That as soon as he was killed, they took the device out of the hospital, and that was the end of it. But the other thing is, it's reverse aging. I'm going to say there's a few things about this device. Actually, I don't know which is better, but you know what? None of these guys were doctors that developed this stuff. You know, Lakhovsky was an engineer. That's actually a close-up of what the device looks like. Now, recently, they discovered 3 of these devices. There's 2 guys out in Italy, Bruno and Tony, and I forgot the damn last names. But I'll point to the link in the comments and in the notes where you can actually get the plans for the device. I got the plans for it. I don't want to build it because I'm like, holy smokes. But, you know, I started thinking about, you know, other people out there in the automotive trade, like somebody like that kind of knows Pete from DIY Auto School, VW John. He could probably build one of these things for himself anytime he wants. And I'm just making people, you know, this is what people that are hands-on, they got a lot of patience. You know, if they could restore cars, they could build this damn thing, no problem. The plans are 50 euros. I'm not selling the damn thing, and I'm not giving out a copy of my plans because, you know, that's illegal. But, you know, I bought the plans. I looked at them. Actually, I could probably build this damn thing if I had a lot of patience. I don't. But I got a portable version of the damn thing. And but the thing is, the real one is one you really want. Now, there's several uses for this because I think the Lakhovsky coil is even more powerful than the Royal Rife device because it didn't work by killing microbes. It worked by strengthening the body. So there was they did a lot of experiments on cancerous. They injected cancers in plants and it cured the plants of cancers. They tried it on people with various diseases. It didn't work by curing the disease. It worked by just making the body strong enough so the body overcame the disease. And there's 3. I'll just tell you real quickly what the 3 reasons they think it works is: either it brings the frequencies of the cells up, the cellular frequencies of the cells up, or it brings in energies in and around us that we don't see that actually are the basis of life. Or, you know, it's either that or it's directing something else to our body that we don't understand at all. You know what I mean? It's bringing up negative ions. I kind of doubt. I know it does have negative ions in it, but I can't see where that's the main thing why it would be so powerful. I kind of suspect the thing where it's bringing up energies in and around us that we don't see, because this device, if they put this whole smear in a Faraday cage, it doesn't work as well. So it's pulling something in from someplace. It's not just bringing up frequencies of the cells. Nobody really knows what the hell it's doing, because, you know, the Tesla is the one that freaking gave this guy this idea, and actually he worked with Tesla a little bit on it. And well, Tesla was the guy that actually came up with this whole concept, but it was George Lakhovsky that made it, you know. So, but, you know, I'm just pointing out to the fact that a lot of times some of these greatest discoveries have not been done by, you know, a traditional medical people or established scientists, or they were done by renegades, man. You know, like I said, Royal Rife was a machinist, John Crane was a machinist. You know, all these pad type contact zappers and things like that, and Rife machines, that all came from John Crane. That all came from John Crane. He was adapting the Royal Rife technology with the beam ray to a contact device. They were machinists. You know, that's what they were. Lakhovsky was an engineer. He was not a doctor. But doctors have evaluated a lot of these devices. But, you know, I'm not trying to make an appeal to doctors. I'm like, forget about it, man. You know, they've been, you know, even if a doctor was, you know, receptive to this concept, they can't do nothing about it. They're done. You know what I mean? They can't do a damn thing about it. They're not going to be able to use it. They're not going to be able to mess around with this. I'm just telling you know what I'm telling this to? I'm telling this to people that freaking are machinists, know how to freaking do stuff with their hands, work on stuff. Now, this is the one I got, and I'll show you this video of update 3 theories on the Lakhovsky coil, because I started figuring out why the hell does this work. This is a portable version of it I got. It's a cheapo one. Actually, I'm gonna start using it today, because I think I need more energy. It scares that mine is loud. This is a cheaper one. I think they had them like this with the portable version even back in the day. Not as good as the full-size jobber, but better than nothing. It scares the cats. I don't like using it for that reason. But I'm going to actually point out a couple other things. First off, you know, there's a lot of people, and now Pete don't have the time. This guy, I always watch this guy's channel, you know, how to buy a Volkswagen Carmageddon, talk Rust and more. Yeah, Rust is a pain in the ass, believe me. I hate Rust. DIY Auto School, he could build this if he had the time. He don't have time, but he probably knows a guy there by the name of VW John. I don't know if he's got the time, but he definitely's got the capability of building one of these damn Lakhovsky coils. I just want to throw it out that, you know, people that know how to actually do stuff versus people that are just out there to make money, charging for pharmaceuticals. There probably is stuff out there that's far more potent. And, you know, that's because it says, I ain't trying to change the world. I don't give a shit. Do whatever the hell you want, man. That's the way I look at it, you know. Now, actually, I want to tell you something else where I think there might be another use for this device. Now, I just got to point to this site. This is just for informational purposes, but this is something I found out extremely interesting. You know how you got all this genetically modified food stuff that allegedly is very bad for people? You know, I know there's been even medical doctors that evaluated this stuff on mice, and, you know, the mice did not do very well that were raised on GMO foods. It's a long-term experiment on people, and it's not very good. But the reason they're doing GMO foods is because they're resistant to Roundup, and it helps with food production, right? Well, here's an article. I'm going to tell you what this is. I'll give you the link. It's the Primeval Code, the ecological alternative to controversial genetically modified engineered food. And it goes on, can the food problem be at least solved? This was back, actually, this was actually done in the 80s or 90s. They stopped the research in 1992. They found they could take seeds and expose them to a electric field, and I went over this in detail on this other video, but it's like the seeds are between positive and negative electric field. The electric field does not go through the seeds, but somehow the seeds are in a field of electricity, and the seeds are sitting on a non-conductive plastic plate. And they did this with fish eggs and seeds of wheat, and they found that they had extremely abundant crops, or like the fish eggs grew into these really big fish, Like, in other words, they showed that the wheat could be harvested in 4 to 6 weeks. And they found out they grew giant trout extinct in Europe for 130 years. So it brings up the most powerful DNA expression. I did a video on that here, talked about it, from GMO seeds to better than organic. As a matter of fact, I did one experiment on seeds with growing trays with this stuff called Willard water. I know it sounds crazy, but it's been around for a number of decades, and a lot of farmers up in the north central USA swear by it in that local area. It was another one of those damn discoveries that had nothing to do with what it was supposed to be for. It was supposed to be a natural cleaning agent, and the guy found out it worked very good for healing burns on the skin. And then they found out it had all these other uses. I think it works by helping the seeds or the body to absorb nutrients. It's called Willard water. I tried one experiment with the what do you call it, the growing trays, and indeed it didn't like double the production of the growth, but I noticed a difference. Now, this is my video. I was talking about using the Lakhovsky coil to see if it would make a difference in the seeds. I don't know if my portable one's going to work, but I got a feeling that the real Lakhovsky coil would work as good as this patented method they used back in the early 90s, late 80s to make seeds grow much faster. I think it's along the same lines. So, I'm going to tell you one thing, man. I ain't trying to save the world, but you know what? Some of the best discoveries on the planet have come from people that were not up there in the ivory towers of academia or, you know, science, or, well, just, I guess a machinist is a scientist. I mean, it's almost like society looks at somebody as, the average person in society would look at, not me, but they would look at a machinist as somebody not as intelligent as, a PhD or a, high-end scientist or somebody with multiple medical degrees. But to tell you the truth, a lot of people that do things hands-on, they're very, very smart. Like another one I look at that I think is very, very smart that's on the YouTube channels is hunting Harleys. This guy's got, he doesn't have any degrees in Harley Davidsons, but basically he's the authoritative source for, he's almost like somebody has 3 PhDs in Harley Davidson. If there was an accredited schools for that, he would have 3 PhDs in Harley Davidson. But, I'm actually putting this information out for people that, if they want to try it, go ahead and try it. I ain't selling it. I mean, the only cost I know that you'd have to pay up front is that 50 euros via PayPal to, I'll show where that is, because I bought it too. I got the plans. I was looking at it. Actually, it isn't that extremely hard to build. It's just very time consuming. But some people probably would find it a breeze compared to fixing cars and, if they got the time, that is, if they got the time. But, the thing is, what's even more powerful and more catch-all than, say, the Rife technology, this is Royal Rife here, is that Lakhovsky coil. It's got multiple uses. It may be useful in growing crops. It may be useful in just having a person having more energy. I noticed every time I use this thing, I feel like I got more energy. I think I'm going to use it because I had to get out there and start mowing the lawn by hand. Maybe I'm going to get a tractor or some shit. But then I said, nah, that's the pussy way. But I just want to point this out here for people that actually don't know about this stuff. And usually when they put a video out on this or something out on it on YouTube or in one of the channels or something, or one of the news sources, they put it out in such a way that, most people look at it like it's, well, I mean, it does seem kind of crazy, I know, but, they don't really reach the people that could probably do the job. The real people that could do it, like, look, this guy, Georges Lakhovsky, he wasn't a doctor either. But he found something out that was from Nicola Tesla. But this was also considered a beauty device. Believe it or not, they were touting this as a beauty device. Even today, the technology, the dumbed down technology from this is called the violet ray. It's in a bulb. It's got like a violet plasma sparks in a bulb. They were using that as a medical device. Then they stopped allowing it to be used as a medical device up until in 1952. The AMA stopped it. But it's still allowed to be sold for cosmetic purposes. You will. That's a very, very dumbed down version of a Tesla coil, or almost like a. I don't want to call it a Lakhovsky coil, but it's a dumbed down version of a Tesla coil. But they still sell it today, and it's still being sold today, and it's still being used today as a anti-blemish cosmetic device. It's called the violet ray, which makes you think, if it's helping heal the skin or blemishes, wouldn't it help heal the body? A little common sense, right? But no. It used to be sold as everything. It used to be the cheaper version. Instead of buying this, you would buy the violet ray. You'll see those on eBay all over the place. They sell them as quack devices. But I don't know if they really are quack devices. I wouldn't count it. I wouldn't bet your life on it, but I don't think they're quack devices. I think they got some merit to them. But the real powerful one is this one that's really rare. And it wasn't until a few years ago that they figured out where it was. Actually, I want to tell you another thing. Bob Beck, back in 1961, Robert C. Beck, Doctor of Science, he said he found one of these devices in a Southern California hospital. I think that's a bullshit story because, one, his design was very different from this thing. I think he just took it from some articles and winged it, and most of the ones that are copied today are wrong based off of his design. Most of the ones that are copied today do not conform to the original. It's almost like, I'll give you a comparison. It's almost like taking the original Volkswagen. You say to yourself, hey, I'm going to change it. And then somebody says it doesn't work right. It's a piece of shit. Well, you changed it, right? Well, when you're changing this technology that was evaluated by medical professionals, not to say that I know this is going to work for sure, but I suspect it does because the medical professionals that evaluated this device were some of the best in the business, the most prestigious hospitals. And they even showed where people were reversing gray hair, restoring gray hair, lessening wrinkles, and getting a more youthful appearance. Like I said, that violet ray actually is still sold for reducing wrinkles and blemishes for cosmetic purposes, not medical purposes. That was stopped in 1952. The violet ray is an extremely dumbed down version of this. This Lakhovsky coil used to be sold as a beautician thing. Besides, like I said, it works by strengthening the body, so it makes sense that it would make people stronger, live longer maybe too. I suspect. But you know what? I don't sell it. I don't really give a damn what people do. Actually, I only want to alert the people that really might do this shit on their own and do it cheap. Because if you buy one of these things, if you buy a real one made by somebody, I don't even know if you're getting the right deal. But the thing is, I know what the right deal is because they sell the plans. And it doesn't look too expensive to make. It just looks like it's time consuming as all hell. But you know what? If you got the shit to wind up the freaking, make this stuff, you got some machinist tools, you can make this damn thing. And, using it 15 minutes a day, who the hell knows, man? Outlive the freaking assholes in the freaking suits. So, just want to put it out there. Actually, there's this guy, he's around today, John Bedini. He worked with Crane back in the day. I don't want to say too much about that because he's around, he's alive, but he worked with trying to revitalize Rife technology with a medical doctor. I don't want to say too much about it because he's alive today, and I don't feel like causing anybody any kind of problems or anything. But some of the stuff I read, I think there's a lot of technology out there, even that the Russians know, with the Sinar device, with Russian wave mixing, that they used to take aboard on they still do. They take it aboard on a spacecraft in lieu of not being able to take all the pharmaceuticals, and they also use it for sports recovery. They even sell this stuff today for sports recovery. It's called Sinar. Very expensive. I think it's got like $50 worth of electronic components in it, and they sell it for thousands of dollars. But anyway, just want to point this out. And there's other people. There's a few people out there selling stuff cheap. Like Parazapper sells very good zappers. They're basically portable John Crane pad type Rife machines, very cheap. Spooky sells the Rife generators, very cheap. Well, I don't know if you will call them Rife generators or frequency generators with scalar remote. And I found that, I don't know. I'm convinced the technology works, at least on cat fleas. I mean, I don't know if it works on freaking serious stuff, but I've already got convinced about the cat fleas. So this stuff isn't all freaking snake oil. But, I just want to point this out to the people that matter. I'm not going to try to convince medical doctors. They can go live in their freaking multi-million-dollar mansions on their freaking fat retirements and, talk freaking $500 words all day and keep their head up in the clouds. I don't care. And I hope they take a lot of freaking pharmaceutical meds, too. I don't give a shit. I'm only interested in freaking the regular people that are freaking doing something for America. And, people like, I don't know, the guys that fix rust on cars and restore them and stuff. And people that build engines and whatever the hell else out there and plow snow or whatever the hell you're doing. Because the reality of the situation is, I don't think it's that hard to freaking make this technology and bring it right back. And I just think people aren't aware of it. They know exactly what this thing is. Tony and Bruno from Italy, they got those plans. They're extremely thorough. I looked at them. There's like, I don't know how many pages, a couple hundred pages of stuff with all the pictures and how you wind up the coils and what the dimensions are and all this kind of shit and the power and whatever the hell's in it. Obviously, I ain't making it. You know what I mean? I got my cheapo version of it. It's as big as a lamp. That's the other thing. This thing is a freaking pretty big deal, But I don't know. I think it's pretty slick. And people need to know about it. So it's actually, they've been developed by machinist engineers, highfalutin coneheads. And even John Bedini, he's an engineer, he's a technician, he's not a doctor. I don't want to say too much about that guy though, but he don't want to say. If I knew what he know, I'd be saying it, but I'd be like fucking up there in the hills on the setting up a perimeter, you know what I mean? Anyway, over and out. This thing actually is the be-all, end-all of everything, I think, and it's technology that needs to be known. Just a review. The Rife technology looks like it can knock out any disease there is. Looks like it. The Lakhovsky technology looks like it doesn't knock out disease, but it strengthens the body so much that it knocks out disease. And it reverse ages. And it could maybe restore, possibly work to bring out the primeval code in the DNA on the seeds that would make crops grow much more faster and abundantly and stronger and solve the food crisis. I got other videos on this, and I don't know. I don't want this message to be lost because it's too important. I don't know why people are so involved in bullshit. You know what I mean? I don't think this is bullshit. I don't think it is. I don't know. I mean, I can't freaking tell you for flat out fact, but you know what? I'm experimenting with the stuff myself. We'll find out.